सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणं परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। So we've been seeing what happens to the threefold karma of a jnani from the standpoint of the common man as well as the jnani himself. So Shankaracharya said that jnanam will eliminate sanchita karma and it will help the jnani avoid agami karma also. Both sanchitam and agami are non-existent for a jnani. Then the question will arise as to, okay, what happens to the prarabdha karma? So with respect to jnani's prarabdha, Adi Shankaracharya makes two observations. First observation was made in verses 95 and 96. The observation is jnanam doesn't negate the prarabdha. Prarabdha continues and the prarabdha caused the body, right? With the body which is caused by the prarabdha, that also continues. And the body-based experience also continues. In short, everything continues. Therefore, jnanam doesn't negate prarabdha, is the first observation. Then he makes a second very important observation, a very significant observation from verse 97 onwards, which is an observation from the standpoint of a jnani or shastra. Even though jnanam doesn't negate prarabdham, jnanam negates the reality of prarabdham. Because before jnanam, I attributed reality to everything that I experienced. Right? Anything that I experienced, I attributed reality. This attribution of reality to prarabdham also was because of my self-ignorance. Now, after self-knowledge, I as a jnani will not attribute reality to any anatma that includes prarabdham, which means prarabdham becomes unreal for me or it becomes mithya for me. The prarabdham continues, yes, but as mithya. So until now, prarabdham continued as satyam. Hereafter, prarabdham will continue as mithya. And not only prarabdham is mithya, in fact, every anatma is mithya. Everything other than me is mithya. Right? So, in Vivekachudamani itself, Shankaracharya tells elsewhere. I don't think we did this verse. Maya karyam sarvam mahadadi deha pariyantam asadida manatma tattvam vidhi tvam maru marichika kalpam. Starting from Maya, which is the costume of Ishvara, Maya Karyam, all the products of Maya from Mahat onwards, right? Mahadadi Deha Paryantam, up to my own body, the Sthula Shariram, Asatidam Anatmakatvam, the entire Anatma Prapancham, visible as well as invisible, the Karma Trayam, Sanchita, Agami, Jnanam, Agami, as well as Prarabdham, they all come under Anatma. Idam anatmakatvam asat. In the vision of jnani, that is all asat, meaning vidya. Viditvam, may you note, register. So Shankaracharya says, Maru Marichika Kalpam. Entire anatma prapancha is like the mirage water. Marichika appearing on Maru, the dry land. Marubhumi is desert. So prarabdha becomes unreal for a jnani. Prarabdha continues, but it is unreal. The negation of reality of prarabdha and reality of the world, reality of the body, all of them, right, is very significant from a philosophical angle as well as from a practical angle. From philosophical angle, it is important. I can say that Atma alone, I am there, I am Advitiyam, Advaita Atma, etc. Right? So the philosophers will raise a question, right? How do you claim you are Advaitam? You are experiencing the body. You are taking classes, you are talking to the students, you are doing a lot of things, right? So it is a big attack on Advaitam because you continue transactions. which require duality, right? So whether they accept or not, that is right. That is not their problem, right? For me, the jnani, I am Advaitam because Anatma cannot be counted as second reality. So understanding this from the perspective of Shastram and Jnani is very important. I as a Jnani, for me, Advaitam is Atma, Atma is Advaitam. There is nothing else. I have removed reality from all the Anatma. So in spite of Dvaita Anubhava, right? I am Advaitam. Advaitam is basically not absence of Dvaitam, but it is in spite of Dvaitam. Very significant. So negation of reality is philosophically very significant. Practically also, if you see, once prarabdham, the world, body, etc. are understood as mithya, they are no more scary. Right? Their scariness goes away, their frightening nature goes away. I can handle everything without fear. I believe Pujya Swamiji uses the example of a cobra without fangs. So you can wear it around your neck. You can do what you want with it, right? So similarly, the Jnani welcomes Prarabdha. He continues to face Prarabdha as long as he's alive, right? But he's fine. If the Prarabdha was not there, if it had got eliminated, he would have dropped dead the minute he got Jnanam. So not only I have a body, so now I can enjoy my glory also. I, the Atma, now appear as Jiva Rupena, Jagat Rupena, and Ishvara Rupena. In all the three forms in Vyavaharika form, I, the Atma alone, appear. So I can enjoy this glory. So Jivan Mukti is possible only because of this Prarabdha. Not only Prarabdha is not frightening to me, it is also welcome to me. So therefore, the second observation is Jnanam negates reality of Prarabdha, which is as good as the negation of Prarabdha itself, right? Because it does not affect me anymore, right? So I will not be frightened of death. I am not scared of diseases, etc. So as Atma, when I look at Prarabdha, fine, right? It has provided me with a body to enjoy my real glory, and I enjoy the real nature. And remembering the true nature of Atma, that is me, I can convert life into a blessing and not a burden anymore, which is the fifth capsule of Vedanta, right? Which we see. So Shankaracharya is explaining in these shlokas. So we were seeing this ajonitya iti brute shutiresha tvamogava tadatmana tishtatosya kutha prarabdha kalpana. Right? So this is what we saw, we were seeing. Now we have to see the meaning now. And what type of mantra? Amogavak, which is ever true, right? Amogha means which is not false, infallible, right? So Amoghavak. So it is the Vak of the Upanishad, which is the truthful word, right? So Upanishad says, I am Brahman. I keep on saying I'm a miserable jiva as a jnani who has studied Vedanta for years. How can I retain the thinking of jiva bhava, the miserable jiva bhava? No. If the Upanishadic words are true for me, and they are, because I have Shraddha in Shastra, it is exactly like Kathopanishad mantra, Ajaha Nityaha, immediately must trigger that connection, right? So, Yesha refers to Ajo Nityaha, and it is Kathopanishad mantra, which is always Pramanikam, right? Valid, Brute, right? Brute means it is stating the following fact. What is the fact? I am birthless and deathless and tadatmana tishtati. For a jnani, for whom this awareness is ever green in his mind, right? Even when the so-called mithya prarabdha is battering the mithya body, that jnanam is never lost sight of. Tadatmana tishtataha asya, again, right? So tishtataha is shatru. So jnana nishta, who's abiding in his awareness all the time. Kutaha prarabdha kalpana. Where is the question of the superimposition of prarabdham in the form of I'm suffering from prarabdha, etc. Right? I'm waiting for videha mukti. I want to run away from this world. I want to escape from this world. Right? So none of these is there for him. So why should I escape from the mithya universe? And abhimana asya munehe. Right? So from the previous shloka, we have to supply kutaha prarabdha kalpana for the mune, for the muni. There is the question of prarabdha for him, right? So I have prarabdham itself is an assumption. That itself is not there. Guruna api dukkhena na vichalyate. In Gita we saw even the worst form of suffering, this jnanam is not lost sight of. Right? So kutaha here is not a question, but it's a fact, right? Akshepate kutaha. Where is the question, right? Of prarabdha. So ajonitya iti brute shutiresha tva moghava tadatmana tishtatosya kutah prarabdha kalpana. Continuing. Sharirasyapi prarabdha kalpana bhrantirev hi.
शरीरस्यापि प्रारब्धकल्पना भ्रान्तिरेव हि
Adyastasya kutah sattvam asattvasya kuto janihi.
अध्यस्तस्य कुतः सत्त्वम् असत्त्वस्य कुतो जनिः
Ajnatasya kuto nashah prarabdhamasatah kutah.
अजातस्य कुतो नाशः प्रारब्धमसतः कुतः.
So we are analyzing the prarabdham here, and so as we saw, the first answer we gave was Jnani has prarabdham. Very important to follow the sequence with which Acharya is progressing step by step, right? So first was Jnani has prarabdham, even after Jnanam prarabdham continues, and in the example of the released arrow was given, etc. Then Shankaracharya revised his answer and said it is wrong to say Jnani has prarabdham because Jnani is Atma. Atma is birthless, deathless, akarta, abhokta. He doesn't have prarabdham at all. The whole thing is Nitya. So the second revised answer is Jnani, the Atma, doesn't have prarabdham at all. Now the student may say, okay, Jnani's Atma may not have prarabdham. Atma is free. But shouldn't you agree that Jnani's body has prarabdham? So Jnani, the Atma, doesn't have prarabdham. Jnani, the body has prarabdham. We may argue. In fact, that is the general answer which is given because the student will not feel satisfied because they want to cry and validate the crying with the guru. So what happens? The guru says, okay, we will go with you, right? You don't have prarabdha. Your body has prarabdha. So cry for the body and family. Now Shankaracharya removes that also. Even to say body has prarabdha is not correct because to say Jnani's body has prarabdha is to accept the existence of a body. It is to accept the existence of body, existence of family, existence of pancha anatma. Acharya says through nididhyasanam, Jnani should have already consistently negated the existence of anatma, like negating the existence of the dream by saying the dream has got only borrowed existence, it doesn't have its own existence, right? Only Advaitam is there. So if you say Atma also exists, Prarabdha exists, then there will be Dvaitam, right? So Prarabdha Sahita Atma is not possible, right? So the practice of Nididhyasanam is what? I am the non-dual Atma, Neha Nanasti Kinchana, right? That is the height of Advaitam. Shankaracharya is very, very straight and direct and ruthless here, right? Very high philosophy. So he says a jnani must have reached the stage through Nididhyasanam. If we have to do Nididhyasanam, we have to remember that Atma, I am Atma, Advaitam, right? And to dwell on these kind of shlokas is Nididhyasanam actually. So instead of saying Atma, I should actually practice in Nididhyasana saying I am free from prarabdha. I am free from any anatma. I am free from prarabdha. There is no second thing other than me, the atma, to suffer a prarabdha. It appears so, right? So I do not question the appearance, but it is not there. So Shankaracharya says, Sharirasya prarabdha kalpana api. Talking about the prarabdha karma of the body, of the jnani's body, talking of the prarabdha, assuming, kalpana, assumption also is incorrect, right? So, because why the Upanishads clearly say, Brahmai Vedam Amritam Purastad, Brahma Paschad, Brahma Dakshinataschtottarena. Ahamannam, Ahamannada, Aham Shloka Krita. Those of you who did Taittiriya Upanishad with me will remember this, right? I alone am there. There is no second thing called body. So, Sharira Prarabdha Kalpana api Bhranti eva. Right? Such an assumption is also Bhranti, misconception, self-misconception. Right? We are just validating the worrying by saying that, oh, my body has a problem, not me. Even saying that is incorrect, right? So, never preserve the delusion. Right? You need not talk about it to outsiders, your family, etc. But internally, it has to be a fact, right? So, in privacy, in the private dialogue with your own self, right? These thoughts should dominate. There is no prarabdha at all. And as Swamiji says, if we don't find time for Nididhyasana, nobody can help us, right? It is a very private journey. We have to find the time for Nididhyasana, otherwise, we will continue to suffer this samsara with Vedantic knowledge on one side, but it will not have practical effect, right? The worry will be there. Very nicely, Swamiji says, because we all attend in-person classes, right? So he says, when the chappal is on, the class is gone. Right? Very nicely rhyming, he says that. Exactly like that. Once the class is over, we go back to our own samsara, right? So Shankaracharya says, this is also Bhranti. It is misconception only because Adhyastasya kutas sattvam, something that is superimposed, right? There is the satyam for it. The whole universe is like a rope snake. I, the Atma, am the rope, and the entire universe, especially the Pancha Anatma, is like rope snake superimposition, and it is mithya, right? So it is I who has projected this world, and I have lent reality to it. So there is nothing called I suffer. There is never. Acharya says there is nothing called suffering. So adhyastasya sharirasya kutastatvam. Where is the existence for the superimposed body? Is that means what? There is no kind of sattvam at all, no reality. So if you talk about the birth of the body, then you have to talk about prarabdha as the cause of the body. But birth of the body itself you cannot talk about because anything that is unreal is not born, right? So the word birth itself conveys coming into existence, enjoying independent existence. That verb origination can never be used for mithya vastu. We only use the word appearance, right? The rope snake appears. Therefore, adhyastasya kutasatvam, where is the independent existence of this superimposed body, right? And for that mithya body, asatvam means mithya body. So, jnani is saying where is the origination? It is only a appearance, exactly like the dream body that comes. The moment I enter the body, I enter the dream, I have an adult body. It is projected. And Maya, there is a Nidra Shakti's projection there. Similarly, the body, our body is a Maya projection, right? So, very important point here Swamiji says, and I really appreciate and I try to understand how much ever he says in these, some of these very subtle statements that he makes. He says, these verses are very important for senior students, especially those who know a little bit about Drishti Srishtivada or Mandukya Karika, right? So there, it is insisted that the world is a mere appearance and it does not have any existence of its own. It is completely projected by Maya, right? So that is what is being referred to here, and he's saying, Acharya is saying, Ajatasya kuto nashaha. Once you understand rope snake is an appearance, you cannot talk about the nasha, the destruction also of it, right? So it just appears and disappears. There is a question of birth or death, right? So, ajatasya kuto nasha, where is the question of death of a body which is never born? Then what to talk of videha mukti? Right? When you talk about videha mukti, you must always remember it is from an ajnani standpoint. So, a side corollary is from this is, when you reflect on the kind of questions that we ask or we get in the mind and don't ask, by observing those, we know our journey, where we are, right? So here is a very important clue. Where is the question of Videha Mukti? Because there is no Deha at all, right? The body itself is not there. The Prarabdha is Mithya, right? So this is the Ajativada portion of the Mandukya Karika. It is discussed elaborately by Gaudapada Acharya in Vaitatya Prakaranam, the third chapter, right? So, we never say Jnanam destroys Prarabdha. Only if it exists, it has to be destroyed. This is for a senior student, right? So, depending on the level at which we assimilate either as, oh, Jnani's Prarabdha will continue, his body is getting battered by this, etc. Or from a Jnani's point or from Shastriya point, there is no Prarabdham at all, no body at all. Everything is an appearance, right? So, Sharirasyapi Prarabdha Kalpana Bhrantirevahi Adhyastasya Kutas Sattvam Asatvasya Kuto Janihi Ajatasya Kuto Nashaha Prarabdham Asatak Kutaha. Jnanena Jnanakaryasya
ज्ञानेन ज्ञानकार्यस्य
Samulasya Layo Yadi
समूलस्य लयो यदि
Tishtatyayam Katam Deha
तिष्ठत्ययं कथं देह
Iti Shankavato Jadan
इति शङ्कावतो जडान्
Samadhatum Bahya Drishtya
समाधातुं बाह्यदृष्ट्या
Prarabdham Vadati Shrutihi.
प्रारब्धं वदति श्रुतिः.
Then a very big question can come. A question raised by various commentators of Veda and Vedanta. Even non-Advaitic commentators will ask this question. Okay, we say the world doesn't originate, and for the Ajnani, because of the ignorance only they talk about it, right? And Prarabdha being the cause of origination, etc. Right? So then what happens is the other commentators will pounce on the Advaita, right? And Advaitins. This happens in Mandukya Karika in the second and third chapter. So, okay, I may say that the world is originating because of my ignorance, but how come Veda itself talks about the origination of the world, the origination of the body, the karma, punyam, papa, prarabdham, sanchitam, etc. Veda itself talks about it, clearly talks about Srishti, which is true. So why is Veda talking about Srishti, right? So Gaudapada gives an answer here. Mulloha vispulingadhyaihi Srishtirya choditanyata upaya sovataraya nasti bheda katanchana. So the literal meaning is the scriptural statements regarding creation as illustrated by the examples of earth, iron, sparks, etc. This is from Mandukya Karika, right? Or otherwise, they serve the purpose of ultimately explaining the unity of Jiva and Brahman. Really speaking, this multiplicity does not exist in any manner. So this is referred to as Arthavada in the Shastric language. So Veda talks about the origination of the body, world, etc. temporarily and provisionally for the sake of the student who is at a lower level. Because in the beginning itself, if Vedanta says there is no origination of the world, therefore world does not exist at all, then the student will go away. In fact, in Kena Upanishad, Nedam ididam upasate, Nedam yadidam upasate, which means Yat, which the Ishvara, the God that you have been worshipping, is not at all there, right? It can be very, very stunning and, very, what do you say, demoralizing to a person who has been religious all his life, right? So no student can accept the negation of the world. So it's exactly like when a person is frightened of a snake and he's so sure there's a snake and it's poisonous also and he's running, right? At that time, if you tell him there is no snake, right? He'll continue running, right? So therefore, such students are like, a person who's not sure about the snake. The teacher should go along and say, oh, yes, yes, there is a snake and wait, you come and stand here and you see the snake. And then slowly, you have to talk around and say, okay, now you see It is not actually a snake. Here is more light and it is actually rope. So it takes time, right, to go. So the teacher goes along with the student and then explains the reality, right? So very similar to this, Yatova imani bhutani jayante. In Taittiriya Upanishad and so on. Almost every Upanishad has a Srishti path, right? So they talk about how the creation happened, etc. gradually, all of them. And then the Guru also goes, teaches so many classes around this, right? And then gradually, he after talking about Srishti, Sthiti, Layam and all, and also saying cause of karma, where all of that is discussed, law of karma, everything. Then it is all Adhyaropa, it is called, a temporary teaching for the frightened student. Then thereafter, this is a junior student, right? So it is called Adhyaropa. And then after accepting the origination of the world, right? Or origination of the snake in the case of snake, right? And then you reveal the rope, and then you can tell that the snake was never born, it never existed, etc. So it only appeared temporarily. And you can say that after the student knows that it is actually it's a rope, right? So the later part of Vedantic teaching for a senior student is called Apavada Vedanta. So the Adhyaropa is the first part where you create all this, you talk about the creation, everything, all the theories. Then comes the apavada where the negation happens. So, adhyaropa apavadabhyam nishprapancham prapanchate. Shishyanam sukhabodhartham tatvaidnai kalpita kramaha. For the easy understanding perception of the student, this has been created. We accept the origination, existence, and dissolution of the world for junior student. And once the student is senior, we are supposed to move right there and accept that there is no origination, ajatam. So the question is, okay, now coming back to this challenge, all other philosophers ask, yes, how do you explain the Veda talking about the origination of the world and body? Tasmad dvat, tasmad atmana, akashas sambhuta, akashat vayuhu. It goes on like this, right? So annat purushaha. So finally the deha comes, etc. So how can you say that, right? So the ultimate Vedantic teaching or Vedic teaching is nehananasti kinchana, right? So the same Kathopanishad and Kaivalya Upanishad, all of them talk about this, right? So, if you see, Kaivalya Upanishad talks about Srishti first. Etat samjayat etasmat jayate pranaha manaha sarvendriyani cha kam vayu jyotirapaha prithvi vishwasya dharini. First, in the beginning, in the 15th verse. In the same Upanishad, after some time, right, it says, Na punya pape mamanasti nashaha na janma dehendriya buddhirasti na bhumi rapo na chavanni rasti na chanilo mesti na chambaram cha. Right, in the 22nd verse, in the same Upanishad. So these are all appearing, but on close observation, they disappear. So exactly like the scientists talk of tangible world and then intangible atom, energy, etc. Right? So Acharya in the next verse says that the acceptance of the origination of the world and the origination of the body is only temporary for the sake of junior students. This is Adhyaropa, right? So in this shloka, yadi jnanena samulasya ajnana karyasya layah. Suppose, right, this jnanam, this is the question of the student, right? Katham ayam dehaha tishtati, right? So, jnanena samulasya ajnana karyasya layah. Hey Guru, you say jnanam destroys ajnanam and its karyam. Ajnana karyasya. You should understand as ajnanasya tat karyasya. So, both ajnanam and karyam or ajnana karya yugo, you say ignorance and product of ignorance will go, right? Rope snake as well as the rope snake knowledge both will go, right? So the laya will disappear. Jnanena, this is your consistent teaching. So rope knowledge will remove the rope ignorance and the product called snake. So the rope snake. So this is the standard law of Advaitam. So he stands by that. So he says Jnanam removes two things. Ajnanam, the ignorance, and Ajnana Karyam. So that means what? The student asked the question, once I become a jnani, ignorance is gone, my ajnanam goes away, then all the ajnana products also should go away according to you. What is ajnanam as a product? Deha abhimana kartrutvam, doership. And doership to produce sanchita agami prarabdha. So all the three karmas are also ajnana karyam. A very intelligent question of the student here. So according to you, jnanam removes ignorance and product of ignorance. That means it removes sanchitam agami prarabdha. And if jnanam removes prarabdham also, how can the body survive? How can you name a person as a jnani? Because as long as he is having a body, there is prarabdha, and the prarabdham and jnanam cannot coexist, because yatra jnanam asti, tatra prarabdham na syat, because prarabdham is a product of ignorance. So how do you explain the phenomenon of jnanam and prarabdham coexisting? Very legitimate question. So jnanena ajnana karyasya, that karyam refers to prarabdham. Ajnanam and prarabdham layaha yadi. If both of them are resolved logically, katham ayam dehaha tishtati. How does this body exist? So the Shruti has to temporarily go along with Ajnani. Because of Ajnanam, I ask a question. Basically, how does the body exist? Because he thinks the body is existing. That is an Ajnani's view. From Jnani's angle, existence has been removed. Therefore, Jnani will say, after Jnanam, Sanchita doesn't exist, Agami doesn't exist, Prarabdham doesn't exist, body also doesn't exist, because Jnanam has removed the existence. But Ajnani doesn't understand that, right? So, he is attributing existence to the body, and he asks the question, how does the body continue to exist? Iti. When he asked this question, iti shankavataha, such a doubt or such a question, Jadan will be there in the minds of worldly people, the mind of ignorant people, the mind of ignorant students. So shankavataha Jadan. Here Jadan means manda, basically ajnanavan, basically the people who are ignorant. Shankavataha is adjective to Jadan, right? So Shanka asya asti iti shankavan. So a person who is having this doubt, or a manda adhikari, right? So to satisfy these doubting Thomases, as Swamiji puts it, samadhatum, to answer them, right? To go along with them. They are committing a mistake, right? They ask, how does the body exist? Tishtati means exist. Our answer is, if you become jnani, you will never accept the existence of a body. Since Ajnani doesn't understand, Shruti temporarily assumes Jnani's body is existent, and it accepts Prarabdham also. And to explain the body, and once you accept the existence of Prarabdham, then the Shruti has to say Jnanam doesn't destroy Prarabdham, because he is accepting. Shruti is trying to go with the student, right? He says Jnanam remove. Basically, he'll have to say that Jnanam does not destroy Prarabdham, and once I become a Jnani, I will say that Jnanam removes the existence of Prarabdham. I will say Prarabdham appears, it is non-existent. But if I say Prarabdham is, right? Basically, the body is. It is exactly like the isness in the dream world. As a Jnani, this is how I feel, right? It should be clear to us. From a Jnani's point of view, it is exactly like a dream. The body is, the Prarabdham is, yes, but I have learned that existence. But to answer an Ajnani's question from an ignorant person's view, Bahya Drishtya, Laukika Drishtya, which means external perspective for the ignorant person, Shrutihi, Prarabdham Asti iti Vadati Shrutihi. Prarabdham continues to exist. And therefore, Adhyaropa Kale, we say Jnani has Prarabdham. Apavada Kale, we say Jnani doesn't say Prarabdham. So for junior students, we say Jnani has Prarabdham. Senior students, we say Jnani doesn't have Prarabdham. If you understand, as Swamiji puts this, if you understand that Jnani doesn't have Prarabdham, you are a senior student. And you can easily find out whether you are junior or senior by sitting in private and dwelling on this and checking if what appeals to you at this point in time. So when I say Jnani doesn't have Prarabdham, you must be able to appreciate that if you are a senior student. Your intellect must be able to accept that many years of Vedanta and Nididhyasanam gives us this. I don't have Prarabdham, right? But for a junior student, Shruti accepts this. So with that is the reply. And so with this, the Jnana Phalam of Videha Mukti is over. So from worldly angle, we discussed Jivan Mukti, Videha Mukti, etc. Because Jnani has got a body for some time after Jnani, after Jnanam. And when Jnani has a body, he is called Jivan Muktaha. When the body goes away later at the end of the Prarabdha, he becomes a Videha Muktaha. Two stages of this is Jnanam is discussed for worldly people. Now Jnani is embodied, later he will become unembodied. Now he is Jivan Muktaha, later he is Videha Muktaha, etc. But for a senior student, as a Jnani, I don't have Prarabdham, I don't have body, I am Nitya Videha, I am always embodied, right? So, therefore, Sadeha Mukti, Videha Mukti is for all others. I am Nitya Videha Muktaha is for senior students, right? Only they can understand this, but majority of junior students, we come down and we say, oh, Jnani as a Jivan Mukta will live, now he has attained Videha Mukti, we say when he attains his ultimate end of life, right? So, if you now see, we have one Vedanta for junior students and we have one Vedanta for senior students. And if we are reading Vedanta, sometimes it appears contradictory because of this reason. Because first time it will say this, second time it will say this, in the same text within few verses it will say that, right? The word, some places it will say world does not originate. In another side it will tell world originates and a big sequence will be given, right? So Vedanta does have these paradoxes and contradiction. Dura Sudare Sadihantikecha Brahman is far away, Brahman is close by. It says there is this contradiction. Guru has to struggle a lot. Shishya will have to go through the intellectual turbulence and he may even get upset at times, right? But it is a natural process. It takes time. And there is no other way except Adhyaropa followed by Apavadabhya. So this is for junior students, the Prarabdha continuing, etc. Videha Mukti, Jivan Mukti topic, right? So with this, the Vedantic teaching is over. Jnanena Nagnya Karyasya ज्ञानेनाज्ञानकार्यस्य समूलस्य लयो यदि तिष्ठत्ययं कथं देह इति शङ्कावतो जडान् समादातुं बाह्यदृष्ट्या प्रारब्धं वदति श्रुतिः वेदान्त सिद्धान्त निरुक्तिरेषा
वेदान्त सिद्धान्त निरुक्तिरेषा
ब्रह्मैव जीवः सकलं जगच्च
ब्रह्मैव जीवः सकलं जगच्च
अखण्डरूपस्थितिरेव मोक्षः
अखण्डरूपस्थितिरेव मोक्षः
ब्रह्माद्वितीयेषु तयः प्रमाणम्
ब्रह्मा द्वितीये श्रुतयः प्रमाणम्.
Esha, the following 3/4 of the shloka, Brahmaiva onwards, the rest of the shloka, second, third, and fourth quarters is all of them are within inverted commas. The following is Vedanta Siddhanta Nirukti, the essence, the condensed capsule form of Vedanta, the central teaching of Vedanta. So Niruktihi means the essence, the capsule means Saraha, Vedanta Siddhanta Saraha. What is that? Jivaha Sakalam, Jagatcha Brahma Eva, one non-dual, indivisible Brahman alone, through Maya appears as threefold. Jivaha, Brahman alone appears as Jiva. Paramarthikam Brahma, the absolute Brahman at Vyavaharika level, empirical level, appears as Jiva with threefold body, Shariratrayam, right? With the Shariratraya Upadhi, appears as Jagat, the same Brahman appears as Namarupa Prapancha with infinite varieties of Namarupa, and Cha Ishvara, the same Brahman alone is appearing as Ishvara also with Maya Upadhi, the power to create the world and the body with that Maya Shakti. Therefore, one Brahman through Maya appears as Jiva Jagat Ishvara Bhava through three Upadhis, and these three are the divisions, right? And it is an appearance. Brahman is the essential truth, but the plurality or the triad nature understand. The Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara triangle division is an appearance, right? So, if you remove the Nama Rupa costume, then the difference will go away. There is essentially only one truth, Brahman, behind this. This is Paroksha Jnana. That Brahman is one truth which appears as Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara is Paroksha Jnana, means a distant knowledge, right? I know that Brahman is Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. But a senior student should claim that Brahman I am. Therefore, I am Brahman. I alone trifurcate myself in the form of Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. Right? So that is the courageous Jnani. So Shankaracharya tells us in Maya Panchakam, the glory of Maya. Right? The very first shloka. Right? निरुपमनित्य निरंशकेप्य खंडे मयि चिति सर्व विकल्पनादिशून्ये घटयति जगदीश जीव भेदं त्वघटित घटना पटीयसी माया. I am the Akhanda Chaitanyam, indivisible consciousness. In that consciousness, Sarve Vikalpanadi Shunye, there is no Jiva Jagat Ishvara. I am, but Gatayati Jagat Isha Bhava Veda. Right? So this Jagat, Jiva Jagat Isha Vedam, Ghatayati, right, is creating. Swagatita Gatana Patiyasi Maya. That Maya Shakti in me, which is Nitya, that Maya creates the division. Ghatayati projects Jagat Isha Jiva Vedam. The threefold differences, the trifurcation is produced, right? Is projected by this Patiyasi Maya, right? Which is capable of doing the impossible. It is exceptionally skilled. Patiyasi is exceptionally skilled, right? Es and Tarap Pratyaya, like Gariyasi, Patiyasi, bringing about or exhibiting. It is very, very, very skilled in bringing about or exhibiting that which is actually not true, Mithya. So I can say I am Brahman and I can say I alone appear as Jiva, right? I appear as Jagat, I appear as Ishvara. So this is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, very interesting here. I thought, in fact, Swamiji asked us to do it as homework when he taught us this. So he uses the word I in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna uses the word I, okay, for an individual Krishna and as Ishvara, as well as Jagat and as Brahman. So basically, three levels. Krishna talks about an individual. I am an individual Krishna, Mr. Krishna, right? I am the Jagat in the form of world. I am Ishvara. These three are Vyavaharika. Then the fourth one is I am Brahman. All these four, Krishna speaks in the same Gita, right? So the first one is in chapter 4, where he says, Bahuni me vyatitani jalmani tava charjuna. Tanyaham veda sarvani natvam veda parantapa. You don't know, right? About all my births, but many births of mine have gone by, right? So I, as an individual Krishna, he speaks, right? Then he himself says, I am the Jagat, right? He says, Aham kraturaham yajnyaha swadaham aham aushadam mantroham ahamevajyam aham agniraham hutam. Brahmarpanam, Brahma Havihi, Brahma, all those, it's just a sample, okay? So he says, I am the Ishvara, I am creating, I am, basically I am in the form of the Jagat. Basically, he's not saying creating, I am in the form of the Jagat. Aham Praturaham Yajnaha Swadaham Aham Aushadam. I am all of them. I am the ritual, I am the food offered to the ancestors, I am the food of all living beings, etc. Right? Then, if you take at the as Ishvara, right? If you take Ishvara and in Uttama Purusha, that as Krishna himself saying, then you would see that he uses this, uh, you know, particular verse, Pitahamasya Jagataha, Mata Dhata Pitamaha, Vedyam Pavitram Omkaraha, Rutsama Yajurevacha. I am the father, the mother, the grandfather, and the dispenser of this universe. I am the one to be known, the auspicious one, right? He's as Ishvara, he is speaking. Then, if you move on, right, these three are at the Vyavaharika level, right? But what is reality? Brahman. So, Vyavaharika, you have Jagat, Vyavaharika, Ishwar, Vyavaharika, Krishna, etc. Then he goes on to say that he is actually Brahman at the Paramarthika level, right? So there are very many verses where you can take the Paramarthika thing, but most importantly, the last one shown here, Mayadhyakshena Prakritihi Suyate Sacharacharam Ketunanena Kaunteya Jagat Viparivartate, right? So, because of me, the presiding principle, Prakriti creates the universe of things and beings, and because of this reason, the universe revolves, right? Because of me, the presiding principle, Brahman, in front of Brahman, Sanitya Matrena, the whole creation manifests, right? So, and also the other two verses in the 15th chapter. Yasmat Charamatitoham Aksharadapi Chottamaha Atosmi Loke Vedi Cha Pratita Purushottamaha. Right? So three Vyavaharika level versions and one Paramarthika level. All of them are spoken in the same Gita, and that is why if one reads on one's own, there is a problem without the Bhashyam, without the Guru, without the commentary, right? So this has to be explained. So then comes the question of how do you know a jnani, right? Imagine somebody addresses the Advaita jnani. How do you know that there is a non-dual Brahman behind the triangle? Because experientially, I am always Jiva, either Vishwa, Taijasa or Prajna. I am always Jiva. So even during Pralayam, I am Jiva with Karana Shariram. Experientially, I am always Jiva. What I experience is Jagat. Ishvara is the creator. Vyavaharika only. Jiva Jagat Ishvara is available. Right? How do you know that there is an absolute reality underlining these three? Because all our instruments of knowledge can only reveal these three. Even Ishvara, I can maximum, right? I say there is a God. How do you know that there is an Adhisthana Brahman? So for this, there is only one Pramanam which talks about Brahman. Brahman Advitiye. With respect to the non-dual Brahman, the Adhishthanam, which is myself, Shrutayaha Pramana. Only if you accept Shruti Pramana, this knowledge will be available. Right? And it is Upajivya Pramanam. It is compulsory to arrive at this knowledge. Otherwise, the Guru will say, okay, fine, wish you all the best. Whenever, in whichever janma, you can come to this, fine, right? So, Brahma Advitiye. So, Brahma Vedanta, that is this non-dual Brahman, Advitiyam, Advaita Brahman, that Pramanam is only Vedanta. So, with this, the dialogue between Guru and Shishya is over. However, Shankaracharya will pick up the thread and conclude the text, right? Which we will be seeing in the next class. So Shankaracharya in the 101st verse, this is the one, right? Completes the teaching by presenting the Vedanta Sara, Vedanta Siddhanta Niruktihi, right? So he completes that here. Vedanta Siddhanta Nirukti Resha Brahmaiva Jiva Sakalam Jagatcha. अखंड रूप स्थितिरेव मोक्षः ब्रह्माद्वितीये श्रुतयः प्रमाणम. So with this, the teaching is complete, and this teaching as presented by Shankaracharya is in the form of a dialogue between a guru and shishya. Now Shankaracharya gives a short break for the dialogue, right? And the shishya is temporarily withdrawing from the guru for practicing Nididhyasana. And to see whether he has received and he is convinced of the Guru's message. And in the Nididhyasana, see, he internalizes the teaching given, whatever he has assimilated, and then he comes back to the Guru. And thereafter, he reintroduces himself to the Guru. Right? So, after the teaching, he's coming, because when he came first, we must remember, as a student, he introduced himself as a terrible samsari, scorched by samsara. Do you remember Durvara samsara davagnitaptam dodhuyamanam duradrishtavatai Bhitam prapannam paripahi mrityoh sharanyamanyam yadaham na jane. So he came as a miserable sansari. Now he has a blooming face. And the Shishya comes again and says, I am no more a sansari. So he reintroduces himself as Brahman. And in fact, in the original Vivekachudamani, we have very many shlokas, right? Where the student introduces himself as Brahman, indicating the kind of Nididhyasanam he has practiced. And through the words of the student, Acharya also gives us a clue regarding the mode of Nididhyasanam. Very beautiful shlokas. And that is the one that I've recorded and also put up. 21 shlokas are there. And Swamiji conducted a full course on these meditation verses, which are available in the Shastra Prakashika app. So we have to imagine, right? So how much time he spent in Nididhyasanam, and then he has come back and he gives so much joy to the teacher, indicating that to the teacher that all his efforts have fructified. So what is the word of the Shishya? Very beautiful. That is what is there in 102. I'll just introduce that. And it is Shishyaha Uvacha. The disciple speaks. Dhanyoham kritakrityoham
धन्योऽहं कृतकृत्योऽहम्
vimuktoham bhavagrahat
विमुक्तोऽहं भवग्रहात्
nityanandaswarupoham
नित्यानन्दस्वरूपोऽहम्
purnoham tvadanugrahat.
पूर्णोऽहं त्वदनुग्रहात्.
Oh, these are the words of the Shishya. He says, Aham Danyaha, hey Guru, I am the most fortunate person. In the beginning of the Chudamani, he said that I am the most, right, misfortunate one. He talks about it, right? I am troubled by samsara. And Shankaracharya also said, Durlabam Trayameted, right? He said, getting a Manushya Sharira itself is very difficult. Grace of Lord, grace of, the desire for liberation, then Mahapurusha Samshayaha, all of these are very, very difficult. So here the Shishya says, I had all the three advantages, right? And I have made use of them, and I'm still more, right, fortunate that I have come to this Purusha, and this Samshaya has led me to moksha. Therefore, no, I am Jivan Muktaha. I am a Jnani, right? So the Shishya must be able to tell this truth, right? So that is the beauty of this verse where the Shishya goes, does Nididhyasanam, dwells on this subject and comes back and tells the teacher this, right? And I understand that in the ashrama, right, when Acharya, our Swamiji used to go for classes with his students, suddenly the Acharya, like whether it is Chinmayananda or Pujya Swamiji, Dayananda Saraswati ji, suddenly, out of the blue, in the middle of the class, just picked somebody and asked, Are you Gunatitaha? Right? There was silence. The answer should be immediately forthcoming if the message has gone in very well. Right? So, here is a wonderful student for a wonderful teacher who has been able to tell Dhanyoham kritakrityoham vimuktoham bhavagrahat nityananda swarupoham purnoham tvadanugrahat. Right? So we'll continue with this verse and then we'll mostly complete the 108 verses in the next class. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. A very important announcement. On 8th, we will have the summary and the last class of the course, and we will have a very brief valedictory function where we've invited somebody very nice, a person who is a Vedantin and who practices. And I would request even those who are listening to my recordings to try and make themselves available for the live class on 8th September from 8:20 to about 10 o'clock, maybe along with the Q&A session, because I would take up to 9:15 to complete the summary, and then we would just have half an hour maybe where you can all share your feedback also. I just wanted to let you know this.